Chapter 214. The Slaves. Already the next day, many slaves of both genders were brought to the priests. The number was likely to be more than 3 times 100,000. Everything was in a big disarray, and the chief priests did not know where to begin to redeem the slaves. And the 10 said to them, "Let each aristocrat approach and say to him, 'Give us the list on which it is indicated how many slaves you have brought. Put a sign on the forehead of each slave, and you will be paid according to the list. If the number on the list corresponds with the subsequent takeover number, you can go home with your proceeds. However, if this is not the case, you will lose not only the whole number of your slaves brought here, but will also be punished on top of that by the same amount.'" See, it is very easy, and it will have the best effect. Go and implement this immediately. Otherwise the buyback will take longer than a year. But the senior priest said, "This is quite right. Your advice is good, but where to go with so many? Where to accommodate them? Where to feed them? And how to clothe them if necessary?" But the 10 said, "What for are the immense palaces, of which we have within the walls of the city 1,000 of which each can easily house 10,000 people? These are standing empty and merely serve to increase our reputation. Put the slaves in there. Surely, if there would be 3 times as many, we could still easily accommodate them." How to feed them? Don't you have in all these palaces overfilled cereal and fruit chambers? What will it take to air them a little? There is so much that the whole of Hanoch could survive from it for 20 years. How to clothe the many slaves? What will it take to empty your immense military clothing supply magazines, a little for a purpose, whereby you already within the course of a few years can fill the same magazines with gold, as they are now being stuffed with military clothes? The chief priests agreed to this, but also calculated that every man would then cost them even more. But the 10 said, "Whoever invests only a little can never expect to win big. However, we believe, where it concerns the recovery of a whole world of gold, no pre-expenses should be spared." The word "world of gold" charmed the chief priests. They then consented to everything. They informed the aristocrats about the lists and the marking of the forehead of the slaves. Thereupon the aristocrats made their lists conscientiously and designated the slaves on the forehead, which each slave owner had his own unique sign, and the detachment went off very well. The detached slaves were then immediately placed in one or the other palace, clothed and fed, and were now also allowed to speak again. Those who could speak. But many had to learn to speak first. And in 1 month, all this work was completed without further interruptions.